Good morning, students. So let us start module 1 today of sustainable engineering. Today we will see some of these contents: industrial revolution, pros and cons of industrial revolution, energy consumption in India, sustainable engineering, and renewable energy. I don't know whether I'll be able to complete all these things, but anyway, the first two for sure. So let us start with the Industrial Revolution. So the Industrial Revolution started somewhere in the 18th century, and before maybe 1750 we considered the life of people without machines, and we call it pre-industrial society. So at that time no machines and tools were available to help perform tasks. You can see this picture. People were using traditional ways of agriculture. The first industrial revolution started in the 18th century, spanning somewhere between 1750 to 1850. So during this time there was a transition to new manufacturing processes, especially in Europe and the United States, and it caused the growth of industries such as coal, iron, railroads, and textiles. The first steam engine came into picture at that time only. So you can imagine the pollution started during this time. The second industrial revolution happened during the 19th and early 20th century or you can say 1851 to 1914. So it witnessed an expansion of electricity, petroleum, and steel industries. The steam engine was modified during this time. A lot of petrol cars started flooding the roads, especially the Europe. So it witnessed the expansion of electricity, petroleum, and steel. And obviously the pollution started increasing. So that is the main effect of industrial revolution. The third industrial revolution happened during 1915 to 2000, or you can say the later half of 20th century. And during this time nuclear energy was first used. Semiconductors, mainframe computing, personal computers, and internet. And we can say this is the time during which we had the digital revolution. And obviously the pollution levels still kept increasing. And the later part, we call it the fourth industrial revolution. So this is a concise picture of all the four industrial revolutions. So the first revolution, mechanical production, started using steam, water. The first power loom was established in 1784. During the second industrial revolution, electricity came into picture, and the first assembly line came into practice in 1870. The third industrial revolution, that is basically a digital revolution, IT and electronics, a lot of semiconductor devices were developed. So in 1969, the first programmable logic controller was put into working. And the fourth industrial revolution is going on now. So a lot of cyber physical systems, digital and biological systems, robotics, etc. came into our lives. This is another picture of the four industrial revolutions. So once again, the first industrial revolution bring in steam engines, mechanization, etc. The second industrial revolution was mainly based on electricity, and mass production happened during this time. The third industrial revolution, we saw computers and internet-based knowledge and information coming into our lives. And now the fourth industrial revolution is going on. We can see the big data, artificial intelligence, IoT-based hyperconnectivity revolution, etc. as the latest trends now. Now let us see the pros and cons of industrial revolution. So first let us see the pros of industrial revolution. Because of this industrial revolution, rapid evolution of labor-saving inventions came in. Otherwise, many work was done by men and animals. This tendency changed. The rapid evolution of medicine, that is a significant, that was something very important. Also, because a lot of diseases we were able to control using modern medicine. Enhanced wealth and quality of life of average person. The quality of life of people started changing with, they were able to move from one place to another place using trains, using buses, cars, and etc. People started living better. It also gave rise to specialist professions, because all these industries needed specialists, especially mechanics, a lot of mechanics, a lot of electricians. So it gave rise to specialist professions. And what are the cons of industrial revolution? That is what is concerning us. Overcrowding of cities and industrial towns. So before, people were living in villages and there were hardly few cities, and people come to these cities only for trading their animals and buy essential things. But now people started living in cities and industrial towns. So overcrowding started in cities. And the second one is the most important one, the pollution and other environmental issues started popping up. In the industries, problems of poor working conditions and the problems with trade unions started during this industrial revolution. And finally, the rise of unhealthy food habits, unhealthy living, luxuries, all this started because of this industrial revolution. And we discussed in the last slide, pollution is something which is of main concern. The atmospheric carbon dioxide, which is a primary driver of global warming, existed in concentrations of about 275 to 290 parts per million by volume, ppmv, before industrial revolution, that is during the 17th century or 18th century beginning. It increased to more than 400 ppmv by 2017. So our air, water and earth started getting polluted. A lot of greenhouse gases were emitted, especially carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane, and the other gases also. And all this started causing various problems to human health and also to the nature. So I already told you that the amount of carbon dioxide started increasing, which gave rise to increase in temperatures. Another problem is human beings started using more than 40% of Earth's land, and this resulted in reduction in forests, which converts solar energy into food and growth. So when human beings started occupying more and more land, obviously the forests started vanishing, and the amount of oxygen produced by these trees started reducing, and food scarcity is another big issue which happened because of excessive forest cutting. Earth's resources are appropriated for human use, leaving a dwindling stock for the plants and animals upon whose ecosystem services the biosphere depends. So the cleaning of air, cleaning of water, all these things were affected due to resource misappropriation by human beings. So increasing carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere increased global temperatures by around 1 degree centigrade since pre-industrial times. Now, what is the effect of pollution and what is its role in climatic change? So the climatic change has a range of potential ecological, physical and health impacts. These include extreme weather events which we are experiencing now, such as floods, droughts, storms and heat waves. Sea level started rising due to melting of the ice cubes in the polar regions. Alerted crop growth. This is another impact on agriculture, and disrupted water systems. This is a news article dated 30th August 2019, that is last year, approximately the same time. 3 major coastal cities in India, such as Kochi, Mumbai and Chennai, are under threat. They might be submerged in sea due to global warming. So global warming will cause great havoc in India. This is a UN report. And other prominent cities under threat include New York, Miami, Amsterdam, Venice, Shanghai, etc. So because of increase in carbon dioxide resulting to increase in temperatures, which will ultimately melt our polar ice cubes or polar glaciers, leading to a rise in sea level, and many coastal cities are under threat. This is again another news article dated October 2019. Many regions of these Kerala districts at risk of being submerged by 2050. So this is something very alarming. We are now living in 2020 and 2050 is just 30 years ahead. All of you will see that day. If you don't act now, Cochin will submerge in sea. So it is time for us to think what to do. And here comes the importance of sustainable living, sustainable engineering. So I will continue my lecture in the next session. In the next session, we will see energy consumption worldwide and in India. Thank you very much.